right, so I'm going to teach you guys how to make a split tumbler where it's going to have different glitters and water slide on it. So essentially what I'm going to do, I've already prepped my tumbler, and I'm also going to be using double-sided tape for my lines, but I already prepped my tumbler, and what I want to do is I want to have on the top V up here a water slide pattern. Then I want to have a chunky glitter that comes down like this, and then a solid glitter around the rest of it. And the way that I'm going to do it is essentially I'm going to tape it off and paint it. Grab my painter's tape here. So like where I want my cup to be white for my water slide, I want it to be a V. And I'm going to just tape off my tumbler. And I want to make it a little bit bigger than I want my V, because the tape is going to keep the paint from going where the V is. So this is as big as I want my water slide to be, the inside part of the tape. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually spray this white with spray paint. And then once it's dry, I'm going to tape it off and spray the rest of it my solid color. So I'm going to go spray this white, and then I'll be back. All right, so it's pretty much dry, not 100%, but it's there. So what I want to do now is I want to tape off the white, because I don't want my other spray paint to get on my white. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to take my painter's tape, and I'm going to try to do this on camera. I'm going to tape off my white right along the same line. And then I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and just cut my tape. I want to make sure I go all the way down and cut my tape. And then do it on the other side. And I just left a mark of my hand on there, but that's okay, because you can touch it up with acrylic paint. So this piece doesn't need to go all the way down, because we've already cut our point with our other piece of tape. Going to trim this piece off with my scissors. Get the tape off my hands. And then put more painter's tape to just cover up the rest of the white. All right, so now I'm gonna go and spray the rest of the tumbler my pink base color. All right, so our paint is dry, and I thought I was recording, putting the tape on, and my phone was not recording. So essentially all I did was I took my painter's tape and I ran it along the line of the white, and then I used my X-Acto knife to cut the tape into a point where the two pieces intersect. It doesn't have to be completely perfect because we are going to line the outside of it with our tape once it's done. So I'm not super worried. So now essentially I can glitter my white and I can glitter my pink, and then I will have this empty space for my chunky. I'm applying epoxy just to the white part, and I'm making sure that I'm doing a nice, smooth, thin coat so that I can use the epoxy method to apply my glitter. Now I'm going to sprinkle my white on to where I applied my epoxy. The reason I didn't do the rest of the tumbler is because I don't want any of the white to transfer onto the pink. So I do section by section this way. I want to make sure I tap off any excess white glitter before I do my pink so that I don't end up with any glitter where I don't want it. Now I'm applying a nice thin coat of epoxy onto the pink part of my tumbler in a very, very thin, even coat. Now that the epoxy is on the tumbler, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle my pink glitter onto all of the places that I put the epoxy for the pink part. Now it's time to remove the tape and let it cure. After it's cured, I just take a brush and brush off any excess glitter before I epoxy. Then it's time for a coat of epoxy, and then it'll be water slide time. It has a couple layers of epoxy on it. We epoxied our glitter, and I made a pattern and printed this water slide, and I'm going to put the water slide on the white. So I'm actually going to get ready. I'm going to get my water and everything together, and then I will be back. Like I said, I'm not really concerned about being perfect because I can fix it later. But I just want something just so it's not too crazy. I'm going to put some water in my pan. Put my water slide in. And I cut all of my water slides on, I print all my water slides on my laser printer. If you don't have a laser printer, you're going to want to make sure that you seal your water slides. And I just take like a wet coffee filter and I wet my cup where I'm going to want my water slide to be. And since this is clear and it's just a pattern, I'm literally just going to kind of put it on upside down. And I use my little squeegee sponge. I've retaped my cup, and now I'm going to apply some epoxy to the V area so that I can lay down my chunky glitter with the epoxy method. Now I'm going to sprinkle my chunky glitter on my tumbler, and then after I've sprinkled it on, I'm going to pat it down and then remove my tape. After a really good thick layer of epoxy, only one, my cup is cured and I'm ready to put my trim lines on. Some people like to do this with vinyl. I'm going to do it with double-sided tape and glitter. I'm going to put my tumbler on a turner so that it can help me keep it still and I can turn it as I need to. So now I'm going to use my double-sided tape. I have two sizes, a fat one and a thin one, and I'm going to put the fat one down first, and I'm going to outline my two, my water slide, my two triangles, my water slide and my chunky glitter, and I will lay them down and then use my X-Acto knife to trim up the points. So now that I have my tape where I want it, I'm going to pull up the backing of the chunky tape so that I can lay the thin tape on top of it and I can get the double glitter effect that I'm looking for. I'm now going to center my thinner piece of double-sided tape in the middle of the chunky tape that I just pulled the backing off of, and I'm going to leave the backing on this one, but I'm going to center it and make it into a point just like I did with the chunky tape in the beginning. I'm going to repeat the same process on the bottom V, where I lift the backing off of the chunky tape and then I lay the thin tape on top of it in the center and create another point. So now the only thing exposed is the border of the chunky tape on the outsides of the thin pieces of double-sided tape. So now I'm going to pour my first color, which is my gold color, onto the part of the tape that's exposed. And it's going to go on. The reason I didn't put this on and then put the thin one was because double-sided tape does not like to stick to glitter, so it's just better to do it this way, and it also limits the amount of thickness on your cup. So I'm going to pour it all over the cup and make sure I coat that double-sided tape really, really, really well. You'll also notice that I use a brush to brush off any excess glitter before I peel up the thin double-sided tape because I don't want any of that extra gold to get onto the tape where I'm going to pour my pink color. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up the thinner of the double-sided tape and I'm going to expose that area so that I can put glitter on it. And once you pull it up, once I pull it up, you'll see that it actually, you'll see that the tape is clear, so you'll see that there's no gold glitter where that tape is, which is going to help keep the thickness down of that glitter, and so that you don't have to use as many layers of epoxy to cover the glitter tape that you're putting on now. So now I'm going to pour on my pink glitter. It's not going to stick to where the gold glitter is because that tape is holding that glitter, and so there's no more tackiness to that tape. So it's only going to stick where it is. After I've sprinkled it all over on my double-sided tape, I'm going to take a brush and brush off all of the excess. And now that I've brushed off all of the excess, I don't have to worry about that tape migrating, or that glitter migrating anywhere else on my cup. It's going to stay exactly where it's at. This guy will get a couple of layers of epoxy and then it's done.